Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech and this is the camera review of the Samsung Galaxy J8. Now on the rear, this phone sports a dual camera setup with a 16 megapixel primary camera with f1.7 aperture, and below that we have a 5 megapixel secondary camera with f1.9 aperture, which is used exclusively for depth sensing. On the front, it has a 16 megapixel primary camera with f1.9 aperture and a dedicated LED flash. Now this is how the camera interface looks like. It looks exactly like the J6, except we have an extra light focus mode for the rear camera. And unlike most phones, we can actually change the amount of blur effect we want before taking a picture, and even after taking a picture we can change the focus point and the background blur effect. I have already talked about the camera features in another video, so here's a small clip from that. Now the next best feature on this phone would be the light focus mode. Now that's a different name for portrait mode on Samsung phones. Now unlike other phones, we can change the amount of background blur effect we want before taking a picture, and even after taking a picture we can change the amount of blur effect and even the focus point. So that's a feature very few phones offer. Next we have portrait backdrop. Now using this feature we can change the texture of the background. We can set it to crystal, pixel, time or crumbled. These are the sample shots. Next we have portrait dolly. Now once you take a portrait shot using this feature, you can make the background move backward and forward, giving you a moving picture kind of an effect. I am personally not a fan, but you can give it a try. Now the next best feature is the background blur shape. Now if you have a portrait shot with some lights in the background, you can change the shape of those lights to hearts, stars, polygons and all these shapes. Now the next best feature on this phone are stickers. To use this feature, open the camera application, select the front facing camera, swipe and select stickers. Now you get all these different stickers to choose from. Once you select any one of these, you will see an overlay of these stickers on your face, and this is how they look. Next we have a feature called selfie focus, which is nothing but portrait selfies where the subject or the person in the frame is visible, where the background is completely blurred out. Edge detection isn't perfect, but it does a pretty good job. Next we have wide selfie. Now this phone comes with a wide angle lens for the front facing camera, and it does take some wide angle selfies, but if you want to take much wider selfies, you can use this feature. It is just like the panorama mode for the front facing camera. It takes 3 pictures in different angles and stitches them to give you a bigger wide angle picture. By the way guys, this phone has a Super AMOLED display, so the images shot on this phone might look super bright with saturated colors, but they might not look the same on other phones or other devices. Now coming back to the review, here are the sample shots taken in daylight and lit conditions. This phone supports Auto HDR, so all these pictures were taken with Auto HDR on. Whenever high dynamic range is involved, or simply when there is a bright light source, images get a bit dull, and you get a faded effect. Most of the time color reproduction is good, but sometimes when you change from landscape to portrait mode because of high dynamic range, color temperature changes and the same picture might look differently. Focusing speeds while taking macro shots was good as well. Dynamic range and capturing speeds are pretty good in good lighting conditions. While taking HDR shots, phone takes like a second. Now focusing speeds while taking macro shots was good, and you get good bokeh effect as well. Even the color reproduction in macro shots was pretty good. On the whole, rear cameras are pretty good. By the way, secondary camera on this phone is just used for depth sensing to take portrait shots. It doesn't offer you any kind of 2x optical zoom or a wide angle lens. Now coming to the portrait shots, these are the sample pictures. Edge detection is imperfect and some edges are too soft, but color reproduction and skin tones look pretty good. Capturing speeds are slow, it takes like a second to capture the shot, but on the whole, portrait shots look pretty good. Now coming to low light performance, these are the sample pictures taken in low light indoor conditions. Images are a bit overexposed, color reproduction is good, but they look slightly faded. They lack sharpness and are pretty soft. Now that's to be expected. If the exposure was reduced a little, images would look great. Now coming to selfies, these are the sample pictures. Now selfies do look a bit overexposed. They are white, they look good, but the colors are a bit faded. Sometimes it takes really good selfies, but sometimes they are really blown out. So for selfies, I'll say it does an okay job, but not the best. Now coming to portrait selfies, these are the sample pictures. Even the portrait selfies look the same as regular selfies, a bit overexposed with faded colors and a blurred background. They look good, but it could have done better. Edge detection for portrait selfie once again isn't perfect, but it's pretty accurate. On the whole, they look good, but it could have been better. Now coming to low light selfies, these are the sample shots. Selfies are a bit overexposed to make you look fair, but unlike the regular selfies, in low lighting conditions, exposure control is pretty good. Selfies look pretty clean, colors sometimes look a bit faded and sometimes look super saturated, but that's completely fine. On the whole, it does take some pretty good selfies in low lighting conditions. Now coming to video recording, here's the sample footage recorded using the rear camera in daylight and village conditions. We can only record video at a maximum of 1080p and there is no stabilization, so the footage is very shaky. Now on the day I shot this footage, it was very cloudy and the footage looks a bit dull, and at the same time colors look faded. While recording video, phone does take some time to focus on an object. Now while recording the video, colors look really good on the phone because of the AMOLED display, but when I saw the same footage on my PC, it wasn't all that impressive. Now this is a sample footage recorded in low lighting conditions. Color reproduction is good, footage is nice and bright, but sometimes it is hunting for focus. So guys, this is a video recorded using the Samsung J8. I'm recording this video currently at 1080p resolution in low light indoor conditions. So now you can check out the stabilization and audio is from the phone itself, so check out the noise cancellation and stabilization offered by the phone. By the way, that's Nora. She's a golden retriever. Now this is a sample footage recorded using the front-facing camera. When there is a bright background, footage looks overexposed and the background is completely overexposed, so the colors look faded. Subject looks decent. In good lighting conditions, when there is no light source in the background, footage looks good. So on the whole, for video recording, I'll say it does an okay job. Now coming to low light performance, here's the sample footage. So guys, this is the sample footage recorded using the front-facing camera of the Samsung J8 in low lighting indoor conditions. Now the audio is from the phone itself, so check out the noise cancellation and the stabilization and let me know how it is in the description below. And let me know how it is in the comment section below. Now I'm just gonna move around, so check out how the light varies depending on the lighting conditions. Footage looks bright and clear. It lacks sharpness, but that's to be expected. On the whole, footage looks pretty good and usable. So guys, to conclude, cameras are good on this phone, but they are not the best. Even the video footage looks average and there is no electronic image stabilization. But the portrait shots from the rear camera look pretty good. So guys, looking at the sample pictures and the sample footage, what's your take on the camera performance of the Samsung J8? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It really helps the channel, and if you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag ASKGREEDYTECH on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.